Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this session on metabolism, we will be discussing on gluconeogenesis from substrates other than pyruvate. In the previous presentation, we looked into the gluconeogenesis from pyruvate as a substrate. Here we will be looking into the gluconeogenesis from glycerol, from amino acids, from lactate. Okay, from glycerol, if we see, glycerol is actually liberated in the adipose tissue during the hydrolysis of fats. That is, triglycerides, when they are hydrolyzed, they produce what you call the fatty acids and glycerol. But these glycerols can be subjected to gluconeogenesis only when it is like carried to or transported to liver or kidney. Okay, because the enzyme glycerol kinase, it is present only in the liver and kidney. Okay, so it is absent in the case of adipose tissue. Fine. Now the glycerol kinase, it will bring about the phosphorylation of glycerol to produce glycerol 3-phosphate. Okay, it is on the third position. The third carbon, the phosphate is added, so it is glycerol 3-phosphate, and then it will get converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate later. The glycerol, it is converted to glycerol 3-phosphate by the catalysis of the enzyme glycerol kinase with the utilization of ATP. And glycerol 3-phosphate, it is getting oxidized to produce dihydroxyacetone phosphate by the enzyme glycerol phosphate dehydrogenase. And the NAD plus, it gets reduced to NADH during this reaction. Okay, now dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is an intermediate in glycolysis, it can be used for glucose production. Okay, it enters the glycolytic pathway, and then during the gluconeogenesis from pyruvate, the dihydroxyacetone can enter the gluconeogenesis in that way. Okay, now the next one we have is the lactate. The lactate, it is produced in active skeletal muscles during like anaerobic respiration. Okay, so during when in active skeletal muscles, what happens is the rate of glycolysis may be very high, but later on the oxidative metabolism like Krebs cycle and later reactions or like later processes may be slow or maybe not happening. Okay, the rate of glycolysis may be very high than the rate of the oxidative metabolism. So what happens is the pyruvate, which is produced as a result of the glycolysis, it may get converted to lactate, and this lactate, it will get accumulated in the what you call the skeletal muscles under anaerobic conditions. And these lactate, it has to be then converted back to pyruvate for further metabolism. Okay, so this particular reaction, it will actually regenerate the pyruvate that can enter the gluconeogenesis to form the glucose later. So how it happens? The lactate, it undergoes oxidation to produce pyruvic acid or pyruvate with the help of the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase utilizing NAD+. Okay, NAD+, it gets reduced to NADH during this process. But what happens is the lactate, it is produced in the muscle, but it cannot be utilized for the synthesis of the glucose due to the absence of the enzymes required for gluconeogenesis. Okay, it is not present in the muscles. Okay, especially the glucose 6-phosphatase and fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, they are absent in the skeletal muscles. Okay, so it has to be transported to those tissues where the gluconeogenesis take place, that is mainly the liver. So this is what actually is represented in the Cori cycle. So the cycle, this cycle involves the synthesis of glucose in the liver from skeletal muscle, the what you call the lactate, and the reuse of glucose synthesized by the muscle for energy purposes. So we can see over here what happens. Lactate, it is produced in the muscles during the glycolytic process and anaerobic respiration. This lactate, it is carried to the liver and kidney through the blood. There what happens, it undergoes conversion to pyruvate with the help of lactate dehydrogenase enzyme. This is an oxidation process. This pyruvic acid, it will enter the gluconeogenesis and it produces glucose, and this glucose can later be transported back to muscle erythrocytes and others for being utilized for their to meet their glucose need. Okay, this cycle is what is referred as the Cori cycle, okay, which takes place between the kidney and liver, where the gluconeogenesis takes place, and the muscle